Parshas Chayesora. Shlomo Melech, the Chocham Mikol Adam. Shlomo Melech says, Yosef Das, Yosef Machoiv. The more knowledge a person has, they will feel more pain. They will experience things more painful. Someone that doesn't have Das, doesn't have understanding, won't have so much pain in their life. Yosef Das, the more Das you have, the more machav, the more pain, the more suffering a person has. Now, it has a lot of levels of understanding, this posuk, Yosef Das, Yosef Machav. The simplest level to explain, if a person is totally not aware of a situation that he's going through, then he actually doesn't experience any pain. He doesn't suffer at all. A person could be not well, and they have no idea. Because if they're already feeling it, if they have pain, it means they're aware. But let's say something's going on in their body and they don't have pain, so they're totally not aware. So if there's no das and no understanding, then there's no machav. And the same is when someone has no idea that something that he bought yesterday just fell down and crashed. He's not in that room right now, and he's doing fine. He walks in, he says, who broke this? What's going on? He gets upset. But if you have no das, there's no machav. If someone embarrasses you or does whatever, speaks about you, if you don't know, then you don't experience any pain. But then, between that and experiencing pain, suffering, in a deeper level, there's a lot of different levels. There's people that are like shallow. So, they know that something happened, but they don't really get it all the way. So they have a little bit of das, a little bit of understanding, and a little bit of pain. We could use the same examples if we started with the example of someone that's not well. So somebody told him, or the doctor tells him, you should know that we diagnosed you with a bunch of ABCs, or whatever it is. So he knows he's not well, and he's a bit frightened, but he doesn't really know what it is. He doesn't understand. The doctor does know. The doctor is watching him. A doctor could see that he doesn't chap. He doesn't really get it. He has das, but if it's limited, then the pain is limited, then the suffering is limited. And the same is when someone does know that he got embarrassed, doesn't know someone opened up a mouth against him, but he doesn't really get it to understand he doesn't have a deep understanding. So okay, so he said he doesn't have the people are speaking about him and how that person really got him with his deepest nakuda of his life. So that's how life works. And the smarter a person is, and the deeper a person, smart is not always deep understanding. Sometimes like street smart. We're talking about the deeper a person is. We could see deeper people have deeper pain. You know, they think and they're stuck with it. A lot of times it messes them up because they don't have this free way of living to just be jolly, walking around, everything is good, because everything they understand, everything they think about, and they dig in, Yosef Das, Yosef Machav. Now the question is, that's very weird, because Das is something that's supposed to be the best thing a person can have in their life. Seichel. The Chofetz Chaim says the biggest matona, the biggest present that Hashem gave the person is understanding. That's what a person is different than just Balei Chaim, behemoths, and a person has seichel. He could understand. He could steig. Everything a person is only because he has das. He has seichel. He has understanding. So how could it be that along with the das, along with the understanding, comes such baggage? Why is that? Shouldn't it be the opposite? That if a person doesn't understand what's going on and is lacking basic information about his life, about things that are happening to him, then he's going to be full of pain because he doesn't know what's going on. So everything is just falling in the wrong place in his mind, and all the situations that are going through. He has no idea how to do things, no idea how to act upon things. That's very, very painful. But if a person has seichel, a person has das, then life is beautiful. Everything is in harmony. He understands what's happening, understands why things are happening. He knows what to do. He knows why. It's amazing. It's beautiful. So doesn't that sound more right? That's how it makes more sense. What's the pshat? And it's extremely important to learn this because, like we started in the previous year, in order a person should be able to be makabel Yisurim v'ahava, accept Yisurim when they suffer, they should be able to accept it and do what Hashem wants and train their mind to think the right thoughts. You have to know what pain is. And this is touching the topic of what is pain and what makes things be more painful and less painful. That's what Yosef Das, Yosef Machav means. It's not only discussing the type of person, or you are from the people that you're smart, so I have news for you, you're going to have a painful life, because Yosef Das, Yosef Machav, or you're not so smart. So, you're not smart, but then on the other hand, you're not going to really chap what's going on, it's just going to be good. If we know the secret of pain, we know the secret of Machav, that could of course help us to know how to deal with it, how to deal with pain. So back to the question, back to the big question. How could it be that the understanding, smartness, seichel, das, brings to a person pain? And you could add to that question, if that's the case, then why do we daven? Hashem should give us das. Das, please, Baruch Hashem give us we daven all, same with the Beinu Bina Lahovan Alaska, please Hashem, I think I might do better without it. They say the story, years ago we said it in your yeshiva, the story of Reb Shlomo Karliner. It's a long story, but the idea of the story is just going to mention the idea of the story, that the tzaddik was made aware from Hashem gave him the yecholos, the ability to understand, to know what's going on. And he saw at the same time, people came to him and they asked him that their father is sick and it feels like he's just going to pass out and he should please daven for the father to stay alive. And at the same time, other people came and said that as a woman is supposed to give birth and it's not working out and she's having pain and she's in labor for the longest time and it's just the baby's not being born. And he knew that it's the same neshama. It's the same neshama that's supposed to leave that person and go into this baby. And how could he daven for both? The bottom line of that story was that the tzaddik asked Hashem to please take away the knowledge, understanding, because everything becomes so painful when you see how people are suffering but this is supposed to be happening. So why do we daven for das if the more das we have, it seems that we're going to have more pain?
Based on last week's shir, would it be that a person with more das, if he puts his hand in his pocket and wanted 3 coins and he took out 2 coins, because of his das, he'll feel pain in that because he feels like Kadosh Baruch Hu is sending me a message that things aren't right?
You're saying any experience a person goes through, because they learned to understand that Hashem is talking to me and Hashem made this happen, and it was supposed to be that this should be happening to me right now. So you're saying maybe he's experiencing more pain because he chaps that Hashem is talking to him right now. So let's answer the question and let's get back to the examples. So the question is das good or das is bad? Does das bring a person happiness or the opposite? So in order to answer this question, let's bring an example from the yeshiva world, from the real yeshiva. When we learned in yeshiva, everybody knows you learn a piece of Gemara, you try to understand what does it say in the Mishnah, what does it say in the Gemara. If there's more than one shita, more than one approach, what's the difference? What would be the different halachas? If you learn like this, you learn like that. And you sometimes see that there are questions that the Rashba asked this question, Rabbi Kiva Eiga asked this question. The questions that are being asked in the Sugi. Now you didn't think of it. You didn't think of that question. Wow, it's an interesting question. So who's better off? The person that doesn't have any questions, or the Rishonim, or the huge Talmid Chachamim, that they say 1 second, but this doesn't stem, this doesn't work out with something we learned a month ago. And how does this work out with something else? A bunch of questions, and sometimes they give answers, sometimes they don't give answers. So, Yosef Das, Yosef Machas, which means that if you're new at this, and you have no idea what's happening in all other areas in Torah, so you don't have any questions. Everything is good, beautiful, wow, amazing. Whatever you learn, you're just accepting. But then, when you have a ton of knowledge, and everything has to start fitting, it's not like everything is good and fine. Is that true? Does that work out with something we learned last month, last year? And what's the difference between this and that? The more knowledge you have, the more das, so you'll have more kashas, more questions, more things that seem to contradict. But here goes the answer to the question we said before. It's true, of course, that because you know so much, so you have every sugya you learn, every topic you learn, you have so many questions. But there are answers to those questions. They just don't stay unanswered. There are answers. And if a person has even more das, then slowly, they don't only ask the question, they also start figuring out the answers. And when they have the answers to these questions, their understanding is not only just, okay, so Baruch Hashem, they figured it out. Their understanding is so much deeper because they know what we learned last month was talking in this scenario. What we learned today is totally different. If they wouldn't have the question, they would never understand that to begin with. So you have 3 stages in a person's mind. There's a stage where everything is good because their understanding is so shallow that, I don't know, everything is good, everything is fine. Then there's a stage when their mind is deeper and they chap. This needs more explanation. That I don't understand with the full depth. This doesn't work out with something we learn. And that's the stage of questions, of not understanding, that comes from understanding. And then comes the 3rd stage, where you work it out. You work it out. So what could be the answer? And you go back and forth in the Gemara. You look there, you look here. Until you figure out the answers. Wow. It's like a lightning. Wow. So now I understand it so much better, so much deeper, and there's an amazing simcha. Ein simcha katoris asvekis. A very deep simcha a person has when they figured it out. Now they chap why this is like that. Even in practical life, sometimes you're trying to figure out if it's a machine or something, and you have this question or something that's bothering you. A lot of times it's something that bothers you about a person, and you can't figure it out. And you figure that out, and you find the key, how you could talk to that person, how you could really change things. That's so exciting. It's a deep simcha that a person has. Now, that is an amazing answer for this question from Yosef Das, Yosef Machas. It's true. A person that has zero understanding or very limited understanding to things doesn't experience pain, but of course doesn't have simcha. Doesn't have that simcha because everything is just mundane. How do you say? Mundane. It's like just Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Everything is the same. Everything is fine. Everything is. That's their life. They're not experiencing simcha. It's just the way it is. Sometimes depressing, but these type of people don't get very depressed. They don't get stuck in a depression. But then there's the questions. Then there's the pain, the upsetness. Why is that person acting like that to me? I understand that this happened, that happened. There's a very big pain, the Yosef Das. Now, on that stage, a person is supposed to know, oh, so you're in stage B. You're right now on the stage of understanding things deeper, and that's why you're asking these questions. Beautiful. Every question has an answer. Every situation has an understanding. If a person understands that, then they look for those answers. They look for those answers. Of course, in Torah, because the Torah is the source for all the answers for situations. Why does Hashem do this? Why did that person do that? Why do I feel like this? So many times a person's experiencing something. Why do I feel the way I'm feeling? Oh, great. But if you figure out why you're feeling that way, it's going to bring such simcha, such clarity, it's going to change your life. That's a work of a whole life. That's a lot of work. But step by step, another detail in your life, another feeling, another level of a feeling. And that brings a person mordig simcha. Yeah, it's the light that comes from the dark. Is the way the Zohar HaKadosh explains it. The Zohar HaKadosh says that if you look at a fire closely, you'll see that the bottom of the fire, where the fire starts, is black. And it's always like the light of the fire is on the black. It can't be, if you look at the wick, you'll see first the fire can't really grab onto the wick if it's white. It has to be burnt, it has to be black, and then you can have the light. Every person, in every area in their life, could find themselves in one of three stages. We have different parts of our life, and different parts have different stages. Some parts of our life is stage A. Great. How's life? Amazing. And the reason for that is because they didn't touch that area at all. In Yiddishkeit, of course it's like that. A person knows certain areas in Yiddishkeit he needs to work on, and you ask him, how's it going? He says, listen, it could be better, Baruch Hashem, I'm doing some progress. They're in B, a little bit. They're like, I know it's not well, it should be better, but certain areas where a person never figured out they're supposed to work this thing out, they're A. It's just amazing. A, then there's B, and then in B itself, and when you're in that stage, things can be very painful, can be a little bit painful. It depends how much das. Depends how big the kasha is. It's like when you learn a sugya in a Gemara. It could be a small little kasha, and it could be busting the whole thing. I don't understand what's going on. I have no idea what's happening. I'm lost. You hear people say, I'm at a total loss. That shows you in which stage they are. Beautiful. Every time a person says that, it means they're smart. But not only smart, it means they're connected to the truth. When we say smart, we mean connected to the truth. It's important to explain that. It means you know that something's happening here. You know that it's not supposed to look like that. You feel like you're lost because you know this is not right, something's wrong. And then you know that you're closer to the amazing life. You're close to the door. Because then you open up, and when you have the answer and you understand and you work it out inside, it's amazing. That's when life, as a person has a simcha in a certain area in their life, they're matzliach. But he Yosef Vish matzliach. He Yosef Atzadik. He was before he was in Mitzrayim. Okay, fine, beautiful. But then he got stuck there. And he got messed up. He got messed up with Eishes Potiphar, and then he's in jail. And then he was Ish Matzliach. He figured it out. It means he knew which sentences to tell himself. If we say it in simple language. But everything boils down to that. He knew which sentences to tell himself in jail. And then he was fine. He was just fine with the situation. That's where I'm supposed to be, because Hashem wants me to be, and I'm getting to a better stage. And the Lev Simcha says that if we look at Yosef HaTzadik, we'll see an amazing thing. Yosef HaTzadik told the Saramashkim to please remind Parai that he's in jail. And we all know that was a chet and hishtadlus, and he was another 2 years in jail because of that, because he was ribu hishtadlus. He shouldn't have said anything. So Lev Simcha says, but pay attention, because he waited the extra 2 years, then when he left, he became king. It's so amazing. We always only say the first part. He fell through, he did something that he wasn't supposed to be doing, so he's another 2 years in jail. But these extra 2 years in jail got him to a higher level. And the simon is that look what happened when he left Fisa. He became a big Ish Matzliach. Because every time a person falls, he's entering stage 3, he's depressed, and he doesn't know how to work it out, and he's falling. But then, that is the key to be able to reach further on in life. In a person's life, it's set up from when a baby is born, that A, B, and C, that means these 3 stages, is an overall explaining the stages of a person's life. And overall, then every person has it separately in different areas. But if you look at a baby, a child very, very limited knowledge, a child doesn't get depressed. And I think in the psychological world, there's no such you can't describe antidepressant or something. You can't. A child is no such a musik of being depressed. Why? Because they don't have such deep understanding to be able to call it that way. They can be upset, very upset, but they don't have enough das for that. That's stage A. Then, let's call a teenager. That's stage B. I think that gets explained the best. Das comes in. And they're fighting. They're an adult. They're a child. They don't have enough das. So they have all the questions. And when we say questions, it's a very, very pleasant word. Very neat word when we call it questions. It gets messier than that. Because it's important to explain. And when you say questions, what does it mean, a kasha? What does it mean? It means that a person has information and it's not on place. That's what it means. You have information, you have knowledge, but you don't know where to put it. And you don't know how it fits with all other things. That's where you have a kasha. This doesn't work out with that. But that's explaining every person's pain. And a person sees something or experiences something and they don't have where to put it. And it just messes people up. Everybody. And then is the stage of life. But like slowly, different areas, the more a person needs to work. Because it doesn't happen automatically from B to C. Even though from A to B, Hashem does make it happen more along the way. But if a person doesn't learn from mistakes, if a person doesn't try to understand why I'm going through what I'm going through, simply, I shouldn't have said that. Oh, I guess you're not supposed to say this to people. I guess they get hurt. All those little things. You learn, okay, you're not supposed to come late because then people get frustrated. And so on in Ruchnis, all the different areas in life. If you don't do that, then you stay stuck. Or if you try, and you have Siyata Dishmaya, some more things you start figuring out what this is, and then a person is with Simcha. And even if they have different areas, they're not yet, but they know what Simcha is. And they know what it feels like, and they know where they're aiming. What are you aiming to reach? This is the idea to answer the question of Yosef Das, Yosef Machash.
So with Yosef Atzadik, when he went from stage B to stage C, he didn't have the answer, now I know why I ended up in jail. But the sentences he got were, I know this comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I know this is for the good.
Oh, and that's what we need to explain now. That's what's so important to mention. Then when you say, how do you go from the Yosef Das, Yosef Machash, from the painful stage in life, in any area? If I feel, I want to go back a second before I say what you're saying. Now we're supposed to understand something. Wherever a person feels pain, that pain means that situation you don't have the answer for it. It means that a person didn't. Oh, I'm gonna call it there. When a person, this is an example. When a person feels pain, it means that it didn't work out that situation of life. They didn't work it out. That's what you feel pain. You're not the situation is bringing you pain. This is what we need to understand. The situation triggers something, and that causes pain. Because it's a simple equation. Because if the person wouldn't be aware, then it wouldn't be painful. It means that not only if I'm aware, it means it's possible I should be aware, but I still shouldn't feel any pain. If I would have the right answer in my mind, then nothing in life would be able to cause me pain. It's scary, but that's the truth. Now, we can't tell people, just get over it. Like I once at the airport I saw a big sign, and it said like that. It said, it's just cancer, get over it. And then it said one sentence. It said, so why do you say it about depression? Uh-huh. That was the sign. That means you're telling someone, if you would be, it shouldn't be anything. You know what I'm going through. You have any idea what kind of Gehenna I have? that you could tell me the situation is fine. If I'm just going to tell myself the right things, I'm just going to be living a pleasant life. You don't know what I'm going through. You can't even begin to understand. There's very high levels. There's thousands and more levels of madregas that a person could reach in that. But the truth of the matter is that every situation is a trigger that brings a person into a situation that they're stuck. Let's say a person is messed up with $5 million that the bank wants to take away his house, and they who knows what, and there's no way in the world he could get now $5 million. He could ask people for tzedakah, he's going to come up with $2,500. It won't really help him. He's stuck. But there's an answer in his mind, not in the situation. There's an answer in his mind that he could tell himself that if he would know the answer, and he would know it so deep, it would penetrate. It wouldn't only be you saying it. And sometimes it takes years of work so that sentence could really go till the bottom of his heart. Then that person could be besimcha in such a situation. It's possible. Now, before we go to Yosef HaTzadik, here is where the avoid of a person is. This is where we have to reach the point. We just said a question to answer Yosef Das Yosef Machoif. First, now we have to understand what it means to be Makabel Yisurim V'Ahava. A person in life, every single day, situations going to happen they didn't expect. We discussed it the previous year. Minor things, nothing major. Coffee spilled, someone said something, I came late, I missed the appointment. Little Sachen. But it was designed that should happen, like we discussed in the previous year, because it's so important for a person to stay connected to Hashem. And that's how the person has achnoah, he's humble, and if he tells himself the right things. Now this situation that a person goes through, if it's minor things, or when it's big nisyonis, or nisyonis that are in a big stage of life, like for 5 years or for 15 years they're going through this situation, this hardship, has two parts to it. It has the part of the situation that happened, and then it has the pain. It has the das. Let's call it has the das. If a person has a situation with no das, with no understanding, then there is no pain. Only when you have the das, that's when there's pain. Now, so Hashem brings to the person every single day and throughout life, the heavy duty things that happen, the situations plus the das. It means Hashem is also giving us the das, because if not, again we wouldn't feel any pain. Hashem couldn't make it happen, and we have no idea that it happened. Imagine a person that owns buildings in England. He doesn't live in England, but he has a Yerusha. He inherited. He has buildings. He has no idea. Someone went and took one of those buildings, which is worth $5 million, and took it off his name, put it onto someone else's name. He never knew. There's no reason he should know about it, and he should get all busy with it and lawyers and spend half his life trying to fight in court. Imagine he doesn't know. He'd have a beautiful life. If he does know, it means Hashem wanted that two things should happen: the situation plus that he should know about it. And that's what Hashem does to us with Yisurim. And that includes what level of understanding Hashem gave us to begin with when we were born, to different areas in life, people, psychological, or understanding people, not to understand people. Hashem creates certain situations plus levels of understanding and brings it to the person, delivers it. This is going to be your life, or your nisayon right now, or your hardship. That's what Hashem does. Now, what does Hashem want we should do with it? What am I supposed to do now? Hashem is a toivu meitav. Hashem wants our good. What should we do? Now, if we're used to, that's what we do all the time. Fight which one of the two? We fight the situation. That's what we do. We start knocking the situation. But that's such a mistake. It's a practical mistake. That's not the mahalach. First of all, because Hashem brought you the situation, so what's the point of fighting? What's the point of fighting it? But if we want to understand it deeper, what the whole idea of the situation wasn't because Hashem wanted the situation. No, because Hashem wanted to trigger your mind, your das, and a certain area in your mind, which is B, Hashem wanted to up it. Hashem wanted to help you reach the next level in this area. The next level. That's what Hashem wanted. That's the whole reason why your son came home and threw a tantrum, even if nothing broke. That's the whole reason. Now, it happens every single day to us. A person thinks he's good. And he is good, Baruch Hashem, but Hashem he came for a reason to this world. So it creates a situation. Hashem knows we're going to design a situation exactly where the person is up to, that he should be able to get to the next level. So you have this das and this situation happening. What is the idea? That a person should work on himself and figure out, why is this so painful? Maybe because I'm embarrassed. Maybe that's what's hurting me so much. So maybe I need to tell myself the sentences and work it out with the right amunah, with the right sentences that should work that out. I know what's going to happen if I do that. Mainly, I reach the tachlis of my life. That's mainly. But along with that, simcha is going to come. And along with the simcha happens to be, the situation also fades away because there's no point anymore. It was only a reason for the das to work out. That's the v'ahavta Hashem Elokecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha v'midecha. That's the mitzvah. When you have a situation that comes upon you, something happened and you saw it, here's the mitzvah. The mitzvah is work out this part, the das, from B to C, like we called it. Don't go there, because if you go there, you're totally missing the point. It's missing the point. You're not going to get anywhere with that. And even in Ruchnius, even a person wants to reach a higher level in Ruchnius, or they want the chinuch of their children. Sometimes so many real things. I mean, it's not like somebody wants an ice cream or something. And let's say it's kid talk. I mean, let's say it's not the heaviest situations going on, but the teacher said that, and it's a new teacher. And this teacher should know, you don't say that to 9-year-old children. It doesn't make any sense. What should I do? I should call the teacher? I'm going to speak to her nicely. No, I'm going to give her a piece of my mind. Don't call the teacher. I can't say it for always, but it's the idea. And I'm telling you, I tried it numerous times. Stop it. Why are you going there to begin with? Now our mind is totally how should I do it? Stop for a second. This situation happened. Let's daven. Stop. You're not going to get messed up with the teacher if you daven. And what happens is, work it out. Why are you so upset? Who should I talk to? And then, you'll see wonders. You'll figure out another part of your life is nobody's fault. And you can just focus on Hashem. Now to your question.
Okay.
Now to your question. Yosef HaTzadik was in jail. I know it was very painful. Ruchni is Gashmi, the whole situation. We don't have to explain what it means to live in jail. And then he's on the verge of leaving, of finally finishing up, and he messed up. Yeah, I think we could connect to that part. We're almost there, boom, we messed up again. And Yosef HaTzadik understood what's happening. He understood what's happening. He understood he did Aveir. Person does, like Yosef HaTzadik does Aveir, he feels it right away. He knows that I shouldn't have said that. Even we feel so many times, I shouldn't have said that. And Yosef HaTzadik sees he's stuck, that's it. Now he's another 2 years in jail. What did he do those 2 years? What did he do? He worked on himself that I could reach a higher level of not even, that's what a lot of Sforim explained. Yosef HaTzadik was in a level he shouldn't have done Ishtadlus at all. That was his level. He was a tzaddik. I should only rely on Hashem. I shouldn't do anything. We are a lot of times in such a situation because the Ishtadlus we want to do, we plan to do is nonsense. And that's when there's no reason to do it. So many times, what are you going to do? But tzaddikim, even something that makes sense, they're supposed to be relying on Hashem 100%. And Yosef HaTzadik worked it out. And he reached a higher level. He knew which sentences to tell himself. Which sentences you're saying? I know why I'm in jail. I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what's going to happen in 2 years from now. I don't know if I'm going to... All I know is that every time I find myself in a situation, if I learn from it, if I try to learn from the situation, I'm going to end up with a gain. not only I'm just going to make it back to where I was before I fell, I'm going to end up with a gain. Even if I messed up, even if I find myself in a situation I shouldn't have said something, you know that you could gain now. You could figure out for future situations not to say that. You could work on yourself to try to ask that person, to forgive, to forgive you. So many different things which it took a lot of courage to do that. It's not shaykh what a person could figure out if he tries to figure out what am I supposed to do. Not why Hashem did this.
Well, if we take one of the examples you gave, someone embarrassed you in public. Mm-hmm. Really embarrassed you in public. So a person who wants to be on a madriga, usually the maximum will say, it's kapara savanas.
Right.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me bizyonis. Is there something more they should be doing?
The person gets embarrassed in public. So a person that knows something about Yiddishkeit and is in a good mood says to himself, it's kaporas avoinus. But in this sentence, kaporas avoinus, there's a lot of levels, and it also broadens itself. It's not only kaporas avoinus. For example, a person that something happens that they didn't want, they say gamzul toiva. So you could watch their face, gamzul toiva. They're like, oh man, this is such a gamzul toiva, which the person not really feeling it, but still they're saying it. It's good. But then there's a level, a person stopping and understanding, it's for the best. It's the best thing that could happen. Rav Shalomot Rubashkin gave it a book about a situation. He writes in the book, someone just repeated to me today, that when he married off his daughter, after working on it, who knows how long, they didn't let him leave the jail. And the maximum they will ask him was that they're going to give him more than the regular time to be on the phone. They're going to give him a full half an hour to be able to be like a hookup to listen to the wedding, and that's the max. Now the way it works is that they can't call him, he's in prison. He could call out with a ID. Puts in his number, puts in the ID, and then he could connect. And they made up when he's going to connect, because they figured out the chuppah would be the most, but it's that half an hour, the chuppah will be, he'll talk to the chassan, the kala, he'll figure it out. Now he was so emotional, he writes in the book, that he got to the phone, he knows exactly half an hour, and now it's the chuppah, and he forgot his ID. And nobody's able to help him, it's like a code. And he tried 100 times, the guard told him, calm down, you remind yourself. He couldn't remember. And 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and 15 minutes, and they can't call him. Okay? And it all goes through a person's mind. Not enough that I'm in prison, I can't be by my own child's chasana, and the chuppah, and now I can't be by the chuppah. But then, he writes, I remind myself that I should be using now whatever I always use for my whole situation. The same sentences. Hashem runs the world, and Hashem made this happen, and it's for the good that it happens. There's a whole thing. And he went out. He said, he went to take a walk. They told him, go, maybe you remind yourself. He took a walk. And he was telling himself all these Aleph Beis Gimel, the Amunah B'Tochen. And as slowly, it seeped in, he reminded himself. And he ran to the phone and he called. And then when he called, they told him, just perfect timing, because we didn't work out, it came late, the chassan, the kala, exactly. And he spoke to the chassan, he spoke to the kala, he was there to listen to the whole chuppah, he got to tell them mazel tov afterwards. That was the exact half an hour that he got on the phone. You're saying, which sentences should a person tell himself when someone's embarrassed? There's a level of kaporas avoinus, this is what I'm going through. But when a person digs into that same sentence if I have kaporas avoinus, it means not only for the coming world that I'm not going to be having Gehenna. Of course that's true, that's amazing enough, just we're not living that world. You don't need anything more than that. But even now, something good is going to come out from it now, today, on this world that we could see, because the fact that I am accepting it means I remind myself of Hashem. And it means that I have achnoah. It means I'm not fighting it. And that's the best thing that could happen to me. Thank you, Hashem. Okay, I'm done. And they remind themselves that when a person gets embarrassed, they're not losing money, they're not losing health, they're not losing anything. Nothing. It goes by, and then a person cleaned so much baggage and stuff, and they're fine. They don't lose anything. There's so much a person could chazer it. We're very used to thinking the same old sentences without adding dimension.
It could be that one oven that you have is blocking something.
Yes. Who knows? The one Aveda was blocking the abundance, blocking the shefa from coming to the person. Baruch Hashem, this happened. Baruch Hashem, the child did something stupid. Baruch Hashem. A person tries, other niflka people, it means when you do it, and when you get into it, and you learn how to, from external even, try to bring into the person, then a person is doing what they're supposed to. A person goes through situations. How did a person tell me? So what's the das? My wife is going through an operation. Could you explain to me which das I'm supposed to be having, what I'm supposed to be thinking? The same old sentences. But understand where you are. That means right now, you're in a situation of Yosef Das, Yosef Machiv. There's a lot of information that happened now to you. Information that this is happening, that's happening, overwhelming. The famous word, overwhelming. What does it mean? It means a lot of information. When someone is in a situation, a mother of a house with little children, and they're also making bar mitzvah, and also the daughter is having a baby, it's a million things happening at the same time, and they're overwhelmed. It's a lot of information. That's what it is. And causing a lot of emotion. And they don't know how to handle all this. That's called a kasha. That's called a kasha. You don't know what to do. Where do I file all this in the file cabinet? How do I put it? And what's the answer? The answer is that Hashem designed it that it should be like this. It means it's perfect timing. Hashem knew to figure it out that this should be the time to have the baby. And Hashem knew to design it in the middle of this whole situation. My boy got sent home from yeshiva. It's part of it. Also designed from above. This is part of the same. Just to give an example for this year. This is planned l'katchila. That it should be like this. And Hashem is going to take care. Hashem is going to make it work out. Hashem is going to. This you say it to yourself. You say, and last time worked out. There's Rishonim that say you're Mekayim Rabbeinu Yoina. You're Mekayim Mitzvahs Esser when you say last time. You see worked out last time. It was a charta. Remind yourself, Hashem took care of Mitzrayim. Hashem took care. Calm yourself down with the Isis. Calm yourself down with the real sentences. Now, the real nisoyin of a person is in that, in their mind. When a situation comes, don't start fighting situations. Start fighting the wrong sentences that you're feeling. That's what hurts. That is what hurts the person so much. I had a child. Okay, I hope it doesn't go back. I had a child that came home a time back and was crying. What was the child crying? They were totally embarrassed. Very embarrassed. What happened? That why did you come to my school to give a lecture or whatever, to give a drasha, and you didn't tell me? Yeah? All the kids in the school told me your father's here and I had known nothing about it, and it was very embarrassing. Mom was crying, and next time, say beforehand. I didn't go. I wasn't there. It was somebody else. The kids told the child, your father's here. That's what happened. Yeah. Now, you could fight it, and you could make a whole, but then, if you fight the machshava, then there's no pain, there's zero pain. In 1 second, it wasn't true. Now, in every situation, it is like that. A person is sure someone said something about them, and it wasn't true to begin with. The same is when Hashem does something, and it looks terrible. It wasn't true. Even in the worst situations, and there's a lot of nisyonis, but if a person was brought to the, it means Hashem wants to move up to that level, it looks bad, it's not true. It wasn't true. It's not bad. It's not ra. But, no buts. So much of it, so many times we see ourselves 2 days later that it was just perfect, and we're embarrassed why we got so upset. But even the things that are really real nisyonis, the truth is, which means I believe that it's toiv. I believe that it's toiv. And I don't know how it's toiv. And I'm not at the level that I right now could be dancing. I'm not dancing. Met Hashem, one day maybe I'll be at that level, I'll be down. But right now I'm not at the level from dancing. But I know that it's toiv. That's where the Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh says, Sama the Yisuri Kibuli. The refuah, the cure for pain is to accept. Chaim HaKadosh Parshas Vayigash. That means not to change the situation, not even by who knows what, to accept it. That's the cure, because that's the place where it's painful, and that's where you accept. Now,
but that doesn't mean you can't daven to Hashem
then a person can daven. We mentioned the Gemara in Brocha says, once you accept, you can daven, but you can daven. You need like a doctor to come to your heart beforehand and check it if you're ready to daven. It says, Shtikusu mi boi rachmi. First accept, then you can daven. If you're mad, don't daven. Because you're using it as a tool to fight the situation. And a lot of people do that. We all do that. That's not what davening was made for. First, that's fine. I had a child in the hospital, a little child with it was before Corona days. They had it in America. There was a big outbreak a few months ago in the breathing.
Pneumonia? Not
pneumonia. It's for little children. It's a chaydak. It's a virus that goes into the. They just had it. It was all over America, Shmishana, and the child was. Mamash, it was hard for the child to breathe. A few months old, 3 months old, 2 months old, a little pitty baby, and the oxygen level, saturation levels up and down and up and down, and it was like getting scary. And a woman came in, an older woman, and she said, why are you losing it? What do you mean? Because the baby's not breathing. Could be the baby's not going to make it. That's what the woman said. No, but you'll be shocked. She knew what she's saying. She didn't say could be the baby's not going to make it and walk out. That's not what the she said, stop fighting. Stop fighting, it'll be good. Don't fight. That's when you lose it. That's when you start acting crazy. That's when a person is not at a situation. I don't remember exactly what were the words. It's not something to repeat, it's not something to use, of course. It's not a mahalach. I just remember that approach. I remember the approach. There's a situation happening. Baruch Hashem, it's good. It should be better. But it's not going to be good, that's for sure. Don't fight the thing that's happening so hard. In so many situations in life, when a person is convinced, this is good and this is not good, who told you? Who told you? Even when it's life and death, a person needs a lot of time and Yeshiva Das to be able to absorb this. But that's the truth. That's what the Torah teaches us. Even in life and death, it could be, this is an neshama that to be here for 2 years. And afterwards, if you're going to accept it, there's going to be so much toiv and such a bracha and so many more kids and so on, whatever. I don't know. Stop fighting it. Because when you're fighting, that's when you're disconnecting from Hashem. When you're disconnecting from Hashem, you're definitely not going to see the good. Now, it's important to stress a little, maybe I shouldn't have said this whole part, but it's the truth. It is the truth. Not everybody is at the situation or whatever to be able to accept it, but it is the truth. Now, I just want to say something. When we say a person should see, I'm in pain, my das is in pain. That's what's in pain. What am I supposed to be doing right now? I'm supposed to be fighting with the real das. Not always we're in the situation that we could be fighting with the real das, because like we said, a person is not in a good mood, and right now, first go to sleep, we'll talk tomorrow. Don't start now discussing it. It's not the time to discuss it. The Gemara says in Masechtas about Metzia, you're not allowed to, when you come to Shiva, and you say by the Shiva, listen, the person does Averis, and things happen. The Gemara says, even though it's true. But if you say something that's not appropriate to this time, then you're just doing the wrong thing for sure, and you're doing the wrong thing to yourself. And when you do that, instead of adding seichel, you're going to go less. The Tveres Shloime from the Doms says this week's parasha, an amazing thing. You can check it up inside. He says Avram Avinu came to say a hesped for Sora. His wife died, and it was from 1 second to the next, and not only was it from 1 second to the next, Rashi says, the Medrash, that it happened because she heard from the Akedah that her only son Yitzchak was what they were going to shecht him. And Avraham Avinu is like coming back. This is what he found. His wife was nifta. It was tough. And Avraham Avinu wanted to give a hesped, and the Tver Shlomo says, you open up the Torah, and there's no hesped. It should have said, we have the hesped of Rabban Kotler and all that. Where's the hesped on Torah? It says that he's going to give a hesped. You know what he says? The next pasuk is, Vayokom Avraham al pnei Mesa. He got up and didn't say the hesped. He said, okay, next. Because, that's what he says. He says, you know why? Because when he started digging in, to say that Baruch Hashem, Sorah, and Nora, he felt it's overwhelming. He felt if he's going to dig into the matziv, he's not now in a situation that he could now be thanking Hashem. No, he lost Sorah. It's very, very painful. Avram Avinu. So he just, Yaakov Avram, he got up and he didn't make the hesped. It's such an important thing. When we learn this, it's important to learn it. But it doesn't mean that if you don't find yourself in a situation that you can now be Moisef Das, you're sick or you're apikosis. Totally not. We have to learn it. We have to understand where things are going. Then, let's see. We'll see tomorrow. We'll see when I'm ready. By Shiva it says, in Aloha it says like that. It's not the time. When you're supposed to ask someone for Mechila, you hurt somebody's feelings, you can't do it right away. You're not allowed to do it right away. You have to wait until the person calms down. A person calms down. Now we can talk. Now we can discuss it. Now we can elaborate what happened. You can't do it right away. The Skrer when there was a person that lost a child, a little baby or what, if it's whatever, it's crib death or whatever, he didn't let the parents say Kaddish. Even if they could say Kaddish because they're missing your parent or whatever, I don't want you to be busy with it. I don't want you to be busy with the neshama or whatever. It happened, you accept it, go on in life now. It's not a madrega to not, go on. That's Hashem. There's a different time where a person could right now listen. He could right now understand deeper because he has now the simcha that's needed for his situation. Whatever. It's very important to say this, but the main key is that if a person figures out that this bothers me, this hurts me, this is very, very painful for me, this I don't want to even hear when different people discuss something about that topic, be aware, all that pain means parts in your heart, in your das, which are not figured out. It could be that all your brothers and sisters, or all your neighbors, all the people in your kehillah are light years away. They didn't even work out things that are 100 steps lower than that. Of course it could be. Of course. But you are up to a level where Hashem feels that you could go to the next thing. So Hashem brings you to the door. That means that's step B. He doesn't let you be an A. So you're there and things hurt. And because of that, the situations that happen. The only reason for that situation was to work out this part in the person's mind. Now, if a person knows that, a person understands that it's toiv, he understands that he shouldn't fight the situation, it's achno, that's what he needs, that's why he's having yisurim. That's why he's having yisurim, that's it. It's not a punishment. It's not a punishment for the person. A person tries to work it out with emunah. Tries to work it out with emunah. And digs in the emunah, and works in the emunah, tries to figure emunah. And then, he feels a bit better about it. And even if tomorrow he feels again, it doesn't make a difference. You did something. It's like trying to break down a door, you took off one hinge. You don't know what you did. Even if tomorrow you need chizik again, you don't know what you did. You worked on yourself to be besimcha in this matziv. It's not only I was besimcha because I was eating fish. I was besimcha because I tried working something out in my mind to look at it this way, to look at it that way. And the more questions a person has, the closer to the answer. The more pain a person has, the more they're closer to real das. They're almost there. And one last thing. It's connected to this topic, so I'm saying it, even though it's not another piece of information with this. People are very pain in Yiddishkeit. It's people that left Yiddishkeit or whatever it is. And a lot of times, you could hear some sentences that go something like that. my mashgiach, or my role model, whoever it was, Rav in the shul, or a chosh of a person, or my father in Ishmushana. I always looked up at him, and he was this, and then he did this and that. And if that's what Yiddishkeit is, then I don't want to have any shaykhs to it. He always used to learn and daven and Shabbos and Yontif and whatever, and then he did this and that. He spoke so nasty, whatever it is. So many different areas where, and he, in money, he wasn't honest, or Demetrius, or he lost himself, and he did this and that. And what's the pshat? A lot of times, the question is so big that it causes such pain, especially when the child or the Talmud had such trust, and there was a mashber imun. The trust was broken in such a horrible way that they have such pain, and it's pain, it's trauma. They're not faking it. They're not just saying it to be able to do whatever they want. There's real deep pain. Now, there's no answer. Sometimes that's the truth. That's what happened. They were hurt. That's what happened. But you have to understand something. That's called step B. There's any way to get a person that was Yosef Das Yosef Machav into C. It was true. It was true. He ended up with a yeshiva or whatever. It's a true story. Not one true story. Very unfortunately. But a person has to understand a simple answer. Not always a person is in the level of being to accept it, to absorb the answer, but that's the answer. You have to wait until a person could understand the answer. Das, a person has in different areas of their life. The thousands of areas in their life they have das. And then in every area you have levels of how much seichel, of how much understanding, of how much truth, how much you're connected to the truth in that area of life. Now, all of us are in the same boat, that's what life is about. That means people have social skills, and they have a lot of understanding to social skills, and because of that they don't hurt people, and they're very helpful, and they're so warm to people, and whatever, and they could also figure out to help other people not get into fights or whatever. And then when it comes to different areas in their own life, they get up late every day, and they're fighting with it, but by now they're 55 and they're still fighting. And it's hard. They did progress. And whatever. Now, our job is Hashem gives us situations that we should add understanding to every area, because that's what a Yid is. The Yid needs shleimus. Every area in your life, a person should reach shleimus. But most people are in certain areas lower than they are in other areas. This guy learns, but he still has to work on his midas. This guy davens, he knows how to daven, he invested in davening a lot, and he's really doing a lot when it comes to that area, but he neglects certain achrayos, and it's not good. He's doing something that's wrong. He's really, really doing something that's wrong, because he doesn't have he's not investing, and if you don't invest in certain areas in life, they stay very shallow. We meet up with, now, it's not a teretz. You're never allowed to be in a very shallow place in any area in Yiddishkeit. You should have figured that out. And you knew they're not supposed to be speaking like that, acting like that, it's simple. It's zichnar a teretz. But it's possible that a person in different areas should be doing a lot of progress. And it's not like it's all a bunch of fraud, it's all a bunch of fakers, I know from the inside. It's not accurate. You don't have the teretz. That means you have information and you don't know where to put it. It means that this is what happened. The Gemara says, Talmud Chacham she'en bo das, nevela toivo himenu. A Talmud Chacham doesn't have understanding, he doesn't have seichel. Nevela, I don't know how to say nevela. Carcass is better than him. It's very, very sharp, what the Gemara says. Because you're a disgrace for the ganz Yiddishkeit. You know what you're doing? It's a disaster, such a situation. But that's what it is. So, Yiddishkeit is not that. But understand sometimes when you see people still have to work out. We always should look at ourselves mainly, that we still have to work on this. We look, I have to work on this, I have to work on that. Let me try to understand this better so I can do it next time better. It's the whole life we're busy working on this, but it gives a perspective. That's the main thing. It helps us understand situations better. When you understand situations better, you're closer to reaching B to C. That's what we're saying. You're closer. Because it's not just one big mess. You have a kasha, but it's not one big mess. You don't know what to do with this information. And our whole life we're learning. Constantly, millions of pieces of information, what Hashem does, why Hashem does, and what we're supposed to think while Hashem is doing things. This is Avodas HaChaim.